So with account abstraction, it sounds like better security, right? Because you can kind of control, I guess, what people can do with your assets. And then ideally, it's better UX as well. It's kind of abstracting away a lot of what's going on, especially in terms of not needing a seed phrase, that kind of stuff. But the way that you've explained it, it sounds like this is in terms of the developers, they can do a lot with it. But will the average person also benefit from account abstraction? And like, will they be creating these, like you just said that you can create what you call it, a permissioned, what was the term you used? A permissioned something, authorization, I guess.
Signer.
Yeah, signer. Like, will the average person be able to do that? Or is this like just those that are building applications?
So I think at the end of the day, the ultimate goal here is to entirely abstract away the crypto rails from the end user. Where like the end user's like, oh, like I want to enable my landlord to pay, like to draft rent for my account once per month. I'll like follow these instructions online and then issue that transaction. But they don't necessarily need to know that they're issuing a transaction. They don't need to know what blockchain this is happening on. They don't need to know what address their contract's deployed at. But they do need to know that they're able to send $4,000 or $3,000 once per month, right? So we want to enable developers to build these experiences in a way that entirely abstracts away crypto from the end users.
Right. So from the UX standpoint of a user, it's going to look just like a Web2 app. You're just going to tell it that you want it to do this thing, and then just underneath all the stuff is happening in terms of how that's going to work on the blockchain, what wallets that's going to, et cetera. But it's essentially just putting that all away, and it feels like a Web2 experience. It's kind of, I mean, we always say the Web3 mullet, which I think is exactly what this offers here is, I mean, Bankless termed this with the DeFi mullet years ago, but we see this happening with kind of everything in the internet, where blockchain is kind of the underlying infrastructure that enables everything to happen in terms of value, but we don't really see it or we don't really touch it. It's more a Web2-like experience up above, and then it has the Web3 in the back. Is that how you would say that account abstraction is basically going to enable that?
That's exactly right. I will say like the main difference with like account abstraction and like the Coinbase DeFi mullet, for example, is the Coinbase DeFi mullet still offers these services through like a Web2 intermediary, right? So like you can go use, I'm not familiar with the latest, but from my understanding, you can go use like lending protocols through Coinbase, for example. But in this case, like you really are getting this Web2 experience with all the Web3 ethos and like value props of decentralization,
self-custody.
Like you're managing, right, exactly. You're managing your accounts. You just like don't really know that you're doing so, when we're providing developers the tools to enable end users to do that in like a safe way. For example, like using things like the secure enclave on your phone to manage keys instead of writing them down on a piece of paper is like one way that you can abstract away keys from user while still giving them a secure environment to manage these keys in.